Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Dome Runners TV. I am your host, Crimson Oracle, and today I'm going to be running you through another battle report. This one is actually going to be the shortest of the battle reports I've done on this channel. I have been shooting full-length battle reports that show every step of the game, but I am going to be doing a slightly different format for this one, where we chop it down and it's just narrated, as opposed to hearing the action that's going on in the game itself. My goal here is to deal with the fact that I filmed this episode on location at a board game bar here in Baltimore called No Land Beyond. It's a really cool spot. They have a board game library. You can rent board games and play there. You can bring your own. And they also have a menu and, of course, drinks. And I have been playing there recently, and I'm a huge fan. So of course it was a noisy environment, and as a result the audio from the videos that I took isn't usable, never intended for it to be. My goal was to do a slightly different, slightly shorter battle report format where you see the beat by beat, but you don't have to, hear all of the back and forth of the actual tabletop. It'll all be narrated via voiceover. It's a little bit more work, and I don't know if I prefer this format to the other one. I could go both ways with it, honestly. And I will probably continue to go both ways with it and show, edit down into different types of battle reports. Because I think that there's different audiences for different lengths of stuff. So check it out, enjoy, and I'm going to toss to Wally my servo skull to go over the gangs and the mission.
Greetings, I am Servo Skull Wally. Thank you for watching the show. Do not forget to like and subscribe. Today's battle sees the return of the gang Sean's Dandies, the Saar with the flair for fashion. They came in with a heavily stacked crew in this random mission. The leader, Rick, returns with his plasma pistol and fighting knife, as well as his cyberarachnid. The gang's archaeotech with Rad Beamer was also present. As well, the gang's champion with plasma gun was on the field, as well as a specialist with plasma gun. 2 subtechs also joined the gang. The Saar player got the Arachne Ropes Tactics card, which gives D6 grav shoots to the gang, as well as Weapon Drill, which allows re-rolling ammo rolls of 1 for the duration of the game. The Saar secondary objective is Wipe Them Out, which requires the player to take 1/3 of the opponent's force to seriously injured or out of action. Against them are the Coven of the Argent Spire, with the gang's leader and Death Maiden in recovery. Only a champion with dual shock whips makes it to the battle of the gang's leadership. She is joined by a specialist with grenade launcher, a sister with a las gun, and 3 little sisters with stiletto knives, 1 with a las pistol. The gang is down by about 900 credits, so they use house favors to bring in a Death Maiden. As well, they use house favors to purchase a 200 credit choice of a tactics card, selecting the card that allows them to bring in a Wild Runner and 2 Phalanx. The gang's other tactics cards are Unexpected Help, which allows a fighter who is not on the battlefield to come into the battle. Search and Scrag, which allows an Escher fighter to make an out-of-sequence movement if an enemy breaks. And Death in the Maiden, which gives a chance for a fighter who is killed on the battlefield to become a free Death Maiden. Escher's secondary objective is Sabotage, which is to get 2 fighters to the enemy deployment zone and start the turn in the deployment zone. The goal is for the attacker to take half of the defender's fighters out of action within 6 turns. Deployment for this mission is Beatdown. The pitch black condition was selected for perils, but the players forgot to implement the rules for it. This battle was played long ways on a 22x30 board. The goal was to see if it changed the way the gangs engaged. It did seem to have an effect. Both gangs deployed along their edges, and the battle begins.
Van Saar would win the roll-off for activating first, and activates a large group of fighters in the back, including the leader, who has commanding presence. These fighters all move up, as there isn't much else for them to do this turn. I activate my Shockwick, Matriarch, and a Sister, and move them up. Next up, Van Saar activates his Augmech, who also moves up, as well as his Specialist, group activating with him. Since all the Van Saar players' fighters have moved, Escher continues by activating Wild Runner and Phalanx, who move upfield as well. I also move up the Specialist Sister with the grenade launcher and get her in position to shoot. I also activate a Little Sister to climb up the storage container. And finally, I move 2 remaining Little Sisters up the board on the far left. My Escher win the roll-off for priority and activate first. We start with one of the Little Sisters moving up. Van Saar activates his Archaeotech, hoping to take a shot at the Little Sister using his Rad Beamer. Van Saar successfully rolls a hit, but it does take an ammo roll, and the Rad Beamer runs out of ammunition. Van Saar would go on to fail the to wound roll and fail the Rad Phase check. I activate the Matriarch and the Sister with the Las gun, and Sister moves up, and the Matriarch climbs up to the 2nd level. Van Saar wisely activates the Augmech and Tech with the plasma guns to take a shot at the Matriarch, running headlong at them like a lunatic. The Augmech fires first, hitting for 1. But does not wound, pinning the fighter. The Specialist in back then takes a shot with plasma. The shot will hit for 1, and it will successfully wound. The Matriarch fails her armor save and is subsequently seriously injured. I activate the Death Maiden, which I got from House Favors. She moves up aggressively since she's not part of the gang. If she gets injured, big deal. Van Saar activates his core block, the Alpha, Cyberachnid, and Subtech. The Cyberachnid fires the web projector at the Sister. The Sister lucks out and is not wounded by the web gun and therefore does not get webbed. The Alpha then takes a shot with his plasma pistol. He successfully hits, The plasma pistol successfully wounds the sister. And she fails her armor save. She is seriously injured and gets a flesh wound. The subtech activates. And hits with a las gun. But does not wound. And the final subtech also activates, moving up. Seeing opportunity, I activate my sister with the grenade launcher, and she fires her grenade and it hits. The Vansar Prime is not wounded, but the Cyberarachnid is. The Cyberarachnid takes a flesh wound, but being toughness 1 from a spinal injury, it goes out of action, and it gets 51 head injury, which is -1 intelligence and willpower. The subtech is also not wounded. As all the Vansar have activated, I activate a little sister next. She moves up. And I activate the Wild Runner and Phalanx, who similarly move up. Neither gang can fail a bottle check yet, so we don't roll them. And the Escher seriously injured fighters stay seriously injured. For turn 3, Vansar will win priority. And they will group activate the Augmech and Tech, who take a shot at the Death Maiden. The Augmech hits for 2 with the plasma gun. One of the plasma shots successfully wounds. The Death Maiden fails her armor save and takes a flesh wound. The Tech with the plasma gun then targets the Wild Runner. The shot is a hit. The shot fails to wound. The Wild Runner will take an initiative check for being pinned, and she passes and does not fall. I then activate my Death Maiden, who passes her Chemsynth check and passes her initiative check to use Spring Up, and charges the Augmech. The Needle Pistol first hits. And does a wound. And the Augmech successfully saves. The Death Maiden successfully hits with 4 Venom Claw attacks. Three wounds successfully. Vansar only passes 1 armor save. And with a seriously injured result, the Death Maiden will coup de grace. And Vansar will then activate the Prime and the Neotech, who stand up. The Neotech targets a little sister with his last pistol. Successfully hits. But the shot fails to wound. The Vansar Prime then targets the same little sister, successfully hitting with the plasma pistol. The pistol wounds. and little sister is seriously injured. In retaliation, I activate my Wild Runner and 2 Phalanx, who continue to advance. And not to be forgotten, the Saar Archaeotech activates in back, fails to reload the Rad Beamer, and fails to reload it again. Grenade Launcher Sister sees no reason not to chuck another grenade in the same spot, and does so. It once again hits, but with an ammo check this time. And it goes out of ammunition. The Prime is wounded by the shot. The Subtech is not wounded. The Prime fails his 3-up armor save, but still has another wound left. Next up, the Subtech will activate. And target a Wild Runner. And miss. I will activate the seriously injured fighters and move them back. And my little sister will activate. And move. And finally, the little sister on the side will activate and target the Archaeotech with her pistol. But the shot will miss. I still can't bottle, and Saar passes his bottle check. The Matriarch gets a flesh wound. The Juve bleeds out, and the sister stays seriously injured. I win the priority roll to go first and activate the Death Maiden, who charges the tech. Her needle pistol hit and wound, and the specialist fails his armor save, and the Death Maiden rolls her Venom Claw attacks, hits 4 times, and wounds twice. And coos the specialist. Saar activates his Prime and Subtech. The shot misses and an ammo check is rolled. And the plasma pistol runs out of ammo. The Subtech targets little sister and misses. And I respond by activating my Wild Runner and Phalanx. One of the Phalanx jumps down and charges, and successfully gets in. The Phalanx hits twice, and manages to wound twice. The Subtech fails his saves, and the Phalanx coos. The other Phalanx also jumps down to attack a Subtech, and passes the agility check to jump down, and whiffs on all 3 attacks. The Subtech retaliates and wounds, and the Phalanx is seriously injured. Bad luck. The Wild Runner attempts to charge, but falls flat on her face as she attempts to jump down. The Wild Runner is not wounded, and so the Saar attempts to reload his Rad Beamer. His second attempt is successful, and I activate my little sister. She will charge the Subtech below, and is successful. She hits twice with her stiletto knife, and she will cause an injury roll. Subtech fails his armor save and is taken out of action. As the 4th fighter out, Escher has won this scenario. Saar get their secondary, And we catch up on some injury rolls. 33 for the augmech. 65 for the subtech. 60 credits for the medical escort cost. 26 for the specialist. I earned 60 credits plus another 30 for the fixer. Then Saar gets 90 credits plus 10 for fixer. And I gained 2 turf. A special shout out to No Land Beyond, which is a really fantastic location for gaming in the Baltimore area. I personally have always felt the biggest issue with game stores is that they don't generally sell beer. And what could possibly be better than a bar that literally has a game store in it? Thanks again to everyone for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share these videos if you like them with your friends. Also, don't forget to check out the podcast. And if you like what you see, you can support the show at patreon.com/domerunners. Every contribution helps.